All right, we're live.
Hey everyone.
Hi,
It's
everybody.
Anatoly.
Hi, everyone.
So who's leading this stream actually? That's an interesting question.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. We start getting questions. Not yet.
So I'll start. So folks, I'm Anatoly. I'm a co-founder of Solana Labs, the company that developed the Solana protocol. And you guys are here for a very special Twitch stream. And we'll be talking about Neon, which is a virtual machine that interprets EVM bytecode.
Okay, I will then introduce ourselves. So I'm Marina from Neon Labs, and the guys here are Vitaly, James, and Simon. They are with me from Neon Labs as well. So, and we're building this virtual machine, Ethereum virtual machine, because we do believe that the dApps need the best from both chains, Ethereum and Solana, to grow. And so this is what we have, and we can talk about it a little bit, or we are ready to answer any of your questions.
Cool. So let's kind of start with the what. Like what actually is Neon? Is it like a smart contract? Is it a side chain? How do I tell the different? How do I know what it is versus like every other way to run EVM?
Okay, the key thing to understand here is that Neon EVM is a smart contract on Solana. So, and because of this, we have all the advantages of Solana. So to say, we're capable of processing the transactions in parallel. And it's crucial to understand, and it's very important to understand. So it's from the tech side, a smart contract.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, and then I think I jumped into two questions a little too early. Let's introduce everyone else too. Like,
sure. I guess I can start, and then we can just kind of go around. I know everyone's got a different configuration here, but hi everyone. My name is James Kikuchi. I am head of strategy and business development with Neon Labs. Super excited to engage with you guys and read your questions today.
Vitaly, please.
Hi all, I'm Vitaly. I'm product marketing manager at Neon. Happy to be here too with all of us.
Simon, please. We can't hear you, Simon.
Hi everyone, I'm Simon Medvedev. I'm senior developer in Neon Labs. I'm happy to answer for technical questions.
Thanks, Simon. So as mentioned, I'm Marina Agurieva. I'm running Neon Labs. So we can continue with questions, Anatoly.
awesome. So that's it's interesting that it is a smart contract on Solana. Most of the time when people talk about running EVM, it's run in its own like IBC chain, right? Like in its own Tendermint, in a parachain and Polkadot. What makes this so important that it's actually just a smart contract on Solana?
As mentioned already, the crucial thing for us is to have to be able to execute transactions in the way native to Solana. That means in parallel, because the advantages that Solana has, as you might know, they come from this crucial thing, and then you're capable of executing transactions in parallel. And so, and like the throughput, the low fees, etc., everything comes with it. And so the standard EVMs, they process transactions sequentially. And this is the limit that they have. So if you process something sequentially, so definitely you will be in disadvantage in comparison to parallel execution. And for us, when we tackled this problem, the key thing was to give dApps the opportunity to execute transactions in parallel.
So
I got a good question from the chat, if you guys don't mind. I think this will dovetail nicely into some of the value add and like why bring EVM to Solana. So this guy, Hey Sanji, and I hope I'm saying your name correctly. He says, if ETH-based DeFi is bridging to Solana, what does Neon bring to the Solana protocol via EVM? So essentially, why Neon?
So you guys tell me why.
This is what we discussed. Basically, it's like it's not a bridge. So, and it's crucial to understand the difference between Neon EVM and any bridge available. So, it's not about transferring funds from Ethereum to Solana. It's about being able to process Solidity contract on Solana with the speed and throughput and fees of Solana. So this is what Ethereum Neon EVM brings to Solana to blockchain space, so to say. But then the transfer of tokens per se from Ethereum to Solana and back, so has to be done via bridges. So we will have integrations with the bridges.
So I think practically speaking, I think the way I think of it is that like it's you have like a Linux environment or a BSD or Windows, and now Solana is an operating system with its own really weird way to execute code. But it can execute generic code. In fact, the code that you execute looks like, executable files like that they do on Linux. It just happens to be its own bytecode. And this port is no different than porting EVM from Linux x86 to Windows, x86 or Solana BPF. The benefit of this is that you have a lot of folks that have built applications on Ethereum that have done a bunch of audits that trust that code. And it's really hard for them to rebuild that infrastructure in a new language, in a new environment. But having EVM means that they can bring it over and now execute it in the same operating system, in the same computer as everything else that's running on Solana, which is really cool. And it's really cool to me that the amount of engineering effort that went into designing this thing that still allows for parallel execution and high throughput, because normally EVM is single-threaded. The way that it executes blocks in Ethereum is it executes one transaction at a time up until the gas limit of the block. So something
James,
that I wanted.
Oh, so remember, we will continue because there are more questions in the chat.
Sure. Yeah. I so basically, guys, I'm tracking the questions in the chat. So if you want to go on it and talk about something, go ahead. But I've got a couple of questions that I can address here if you'd like. I think one good one here by Ninja Tribe Venom. He asked, will EVM be composable with Solana dApps? Like, for example, will it be able to use Seerum's order books?
Yeah, this is so it's running in the same state machine as a program alongside Seerum. So just like Java can access Windows APIs, you can access Seerum, you can access all the other APIs, but it is a bit of work and about the same level of work as you would need to write from Java to access the new Windows APIs. You got to like plumb that data through, but it's not doesn't require any additional trust properties. It doesn't require a proxy or like a, you know, a side chain or transferring assets and like locking them in some somebody else's keys. So it's purely trustless, but it's kind of a I don't know, that kind of work isn't always fun. Like that's the way I look at it. It's like grunt work, engineering grunt work. Somebody's got to do it. Probably Simeon.
Yeah, right. But basically speaking, so if you want to run your Solidity contract on Neon EVM and want to address some functions or access some applications built on natively on Solana, definitely you need to write down in your code these functions, these so-called functions, and enable these actions.
The tricky part, I think, that we haven't fully thought through is in that Neon supports incremental computation, which allows it to process multiple blocks. And if that computation eventually fails, and you're also causing like Solana state transitions that are atomically committed, dealing with both of those states, you got to be pretty careful. So for some of these applications, you may want to break them up into like atomic pieces. But that's work, right? It's all doable. It's just a bunch of work.
Totally. We got a good question. Maybe it would be helpful for us to, so Xerox Dima basically just asks, well, actually, sorry, before we get to that one, Astro Martian asks, basically, can we just go into a little bit of more detail on the architecture of our solution? Is it built directly on LLVM? Does a compute limit for Neon exist since they can execute transactions spanning blocks? You know, I know some of that you just mentioned, but maybe we can go a little bit more into the architecture so they understand that better.
Okay, Simon, do you want to hop on this question?
Yes, I try to explain. As Marina say, Neon EVM, it's a program running on Solana. But to provide a service for user, we save compatibility with Ethereum protocol, and user connect to Neon EVM through Neon Web3 proxy. For connect to Neon Web3 proxy, user can use any Ethereum wallet like Metamask. When user create a transaction, Metamask sign transaction with private user private key and send it to proxy. Proxy forms Solana transaction. It's do it writing Ethereum transaction over one or several Solana transactions, and send it to Neon EVM through Solana core. Then Neon EVM check signature from user and execute bytecode contract bytecode. When transaction finished, the state of contracts commit in Solana state.
Just to give some examples, let's say one user submits a spend from, user A to user B for the same contract, and then another user submits a spend from, themselves to user B, right? For the same ERC20. So two transfers, they're touching the same state. How does that, who wins, right? Like, and let's say these specific transfers are expensive and for some reason need to span multiple Solana transactions. How does this EVM resolve that?
Do you mean that some user make transfer token within same contract?
Yeah.
In this case, in this case, we can't execute such transaction in parallel, and it will be executed one then another transaction. It
So if the proxy tried to do it, right? If the proxy failed, or there was two proxies that had a collision, what would happen on chain?
If transaction will execute in one iteration, then Solana core will order such transaction. If we can't execute in one iteration and switch to multi-iterative execution, then Neon EVM proxy will reorder transaction, but Neon EVM lock account which involves in first transaction, so we second transaction can't be run until first finished.
So the second transaction, if somebody tried to initialize it, that initialization would fail, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So hopefully that clears up that question. That's a really good question. The way I understand it is that, like Postgres or any traditional database, you can, when you submit like a long-running job, the database locks a bunch of accounts until that job completes. And similar here, you submit a job to EVM, it counts logically, and those are stay locked until the thing completes. So any second transaction is going to be basically fail if somebody tried to submit it on Solana, but the proxy can delay until that's done and then send it afterwards. Cool. What else? What other questions do you see that's good?
Not a ton else. We did, I think, of course, we'll probably get this question a lot. So to address, we got a question in regards to tokenomics and when Neon will be available. Neon token will be available. Obviously we've, cited that we'll have a token in our white paper if you guys read that. But we haven't firmed up details on when we're launching that or anything yet. So stay tuned there.
But so in addition to that, Neon will be governance token only. What do we have right now in mind? So we don't want to disrupt user experience. So user experience should be as smooth as on Ethereum. So the users will be able to pay in ETH-like tokens and ERC20 tokens. And so then the operators who are running the proxies, they will be paid to Solana validators in SOL tokens. So the Neon token will be just a governance token.
Cool. So just so folks understand, that means that you can pay in any token and for gas. Is that compatible with how Metamask and ETH kind of work out of the box?
Yeah, it's 100% compatible. So it should be just they will choose the Neon EVM network, so to say, and then they will have tokens available, and they will pay just naturally via MetaMask environment.
Got it.
We got a question about bridges. So this guy's asking, you mentioned bridges. Does that mean that there are plans for cross-chain liquidity for some protocols?
So there's a bridge called Wormhole, which you can pass Ethereum assets through. And then those assets are SPL tokens on Solana. And I believe there's an ERC20 interface that does the plumbing to talk to SPL tokens, right? Is that correct?
Семен.
Yes, inside Neon EVM, Solidity contracts can use ERC20 wrapper contract, which give access to SPL token balances.
Have you thought about how that would work in reverse if I define the ERC20 token inside Neon? How do we mint it on Solana?
Марина, come help me.
Да, смотри, в обратную сторону. Если я создал токен в Neon EVM ERC20, могу ли я его на Solana отправить? Ну, то есть как это будет работать на Solana с нормальными токенами?
For standard ERC20 implementation, for ERC20 token, we suggest ERC20 bridge, which can take token inside Neon EVM and pass it to some SPL token balance.
Got it. So is the bridge smart enough to understand if I take an ERC20, if I take an SPL token, wrap it into an ERC20, and then pass it through, is it going to unwrap it to the right thing?
Марина,
смотри, бридж может понять, что я взял в оригинале SPL токен, завернул его в ERC токен, а потом, соответственно, получил на выходе снова SPL токен. То есть в оригинале был SPL токен.
On Solana side, it will be two different SPL mint. Но давай на русском, Марин. Если бридж, с помощью бриджа мы сделали SPL токен, потом обернули его в Neon EVM, то пользователи Solana могут работать с SPL балансами.
Да нет, там было, он будет тот же или не тот же токен? Вопрос в этом. Он другой уже будет?
Он другой будет.
Другой. So then you will have two different SPL tokens.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. That might be, yeah, we might need to figure out how to make them the same.
Yeah,
but that's an interesting, that's a challenging problem. Cool. There's a good question. So how long is it going to take? Let's say I have an Ethereum application that works in Ethereum. How long will it take to get it running on Neon?
it depends on your deployment skills. So if you know how to deploy your application, so you can try to deploy it on Neon EVM right now, because we did this for Uniswap application. So it took us quite a long time, but we didn't know quite well Uniswap application first. So, and then we had to figure out how to deploy it properly. But then, so if you know how to do it, so you can deploy it right now.
Does Truffle work? Or
it should work. It should work. Yeah.
Okay.
cool.
You know, another question that I think we sort of touched on earlier, but might be worth bringing back up is, you know, one guy asked, will eventually AMMs compete? So native ones like Serum order books versus, you know, the Uniswap ones that we would help port over, right? And you know, I think to a certain extent there is some competition, but I think, like we mentioned, there's also the composability and also access to new liquidity, right? So you know, right now, many users on, we'll say, like, you know, EVM compatible side chains and layer 2s are, you know, we think of them as happier Ethereum users, right? They've get it, but it's the same liquidity versus the liquidity on Solana right now is separate, right? And so the ability to access that as a new market and also compose with any of the native dApps is kind of the pro there. What else do we have?
Yeah, Truffle should work.
Yeah, but as far as I remember, Simon, you used Remix as well. Yep.
Yes, for work with Neon EVM, Solidity developer can use Remix and all another tools which exist for Ethereum
Applications.
More questions, guys. Keep them coming. So he's one, I don't know how to say this, Psychmeister, sorry if I'm butchering that. Is there any of the toolkit that wouldn't be compatible? I'm guessing he's mentioning like Ethereum-based dev tools that wouldn't be compatible with Neon.
I can't think of anything that wouldn't be compatible, but Simon, maybe you know, will not work with Neon EVM.
We try to support any toolkit to work with Neon EVM.
So everything should work, but then if something doesn't work, and let us know immediately, we will just fix this bug.
Cool. One question here is on our timeline for the project. So obviously we've deployed on testnet already. And then we are looking to deploy on mainnet sometime in September, probably late September.
Yeah, I think audit, right? Audit and maybe like a few other things.
Yeah, the
performance
critical,
optimizations. Yeah.
yeah. But then the critical part is to audit our smart contracts in order to be ready to onboard DeFi applications, etc. So
Here's a hard question. What happens if Ethereum changes? Like Ethereum adds a new feature, like a new
it's a
precompile
very
or something?
simple. Yeah, it's a very simple question because we've thought about it. We've been running different blockchains for several years, so and we faced this very nice problem, which is called hard forks. So in our case, we have to update Neon EVM contract, and it's like, okay, we have to update, but then we are independent in this, so we will update it easily. So and the decentralized governance will hopefully approve these updates, and then we will have the up-to-date Neon EVM.
Got it. So is there any plan, I guess, that there would be an update to the currently running binary versus having a EVM v1 and EVM v2 and have people migrate, correct? So you would just update the code directly.
Семен, is it correct? Как обновляться он будет? Ну, то есть в случае, если у эфира изменения какие-то, и нам надо изменить контракт, он будет изменяться.
We can update Neon EVM program wallet in Solana. Так, технически мы обновляем программу на Solana по решению governance.
Да, но он спрашивал, это будет binary просто кода обновлен, либо это будет как-то по-другому с миграцией. Что значит обновление? Само обновление слова.
У вас будет новая версия EVM 2,
Да.
и потом сам state будет меняться, или просто перепишет binary на EVM 1?
Мы будем переписывать тот, который сейчас есть.
Okay, понял. Yes. Okay, so you're gonna so there's gonna be a direct update to the binary code through a governance vote if there's an update. Yeah, got it.
So, sorry, guys, we have to switch to Russian from time to time.
Yeah, I'm just as confused as the chat when you guys do that.
It's okay. If they've been following Solana, they should all be learning Russian and Rust.
Yeah.
Some people
one question that came back up and I think might be helpful to just revisit. I'm trying to pull this back up here. So can you speak to the experience of interacting with Neon apps as a native Solana user? So can I use Neon Uniswap from a native Solana address?
So I can answer that. So this is going to be somewhat complicated because the wallet as a native user like Phantom, when you sign a transaction there, that transaction, the wallet has to understand what it's signing. So it actually needs to know that you are sending Ethereum bytecode, like Ethereum formatted data. It's got to generate that data and then sign it with a EVM compatible signature. So Phantom as a wallet would need to add support for it directly. And this is probably something that is going to happen to every wallet in the world, like support for some form of Ethereum compatibility alongside of Solana as well.
Yeah, but we're in talks with Phantom, so they have their own pipeline in terms of delivering features, but they know about us, and hopefully this compatibility will appear.
Yep.
Let's see what else here. That kind of knocks out 2 or 3 of the other questions that are in this chat. What else do you think we might be missing, you guys?
So I think some of the cool thing what's really cool about this is Ethereum 2 is planning to not do any execution at all. Like it's just there to provide data availability and fraud proofs. But you still need an execution layer, right? Somebody still needs to run the Ethereum transaction somewhere. What I really like about Neon is that you could configure every kind of rollup on Ethereum with whatever fraud proofs you want, and then point all of them to Neon as the execution environment, and you get the benefit of, you know, whatever you wanted out of Ethereum plus this really fast, high performance, parallel execution engine, which is Ethereum running on Solana as a smart contract. So, you know, in a weird way, like because of the design decisions we made like 2-3 years ago, both us and the Ethereum teams, we've kind of built two very important pieces of the same pie, same puzzle.
Yeah, I see a question here about the integration of and compatibility with ERC 721 tokens and other NFT standards. So we're in discussions with NFT dApps as well. So they need the standard to be present right now. We don't support ERC 721, but then so later on we will definitely have it available as well. What else? Yeah, in terms of demo, yes, we do have Uniswap demo available, so you can look at it on our GitHub. It was available on the first day of testnet launch, so it was live, but then we didn't change anything, like nothing. So we didn't change anything in Uniswap contracts, and we didn't change Uniswap interface, and so Google thought it was a phishing page and phishing site because of these no changes at all. And so we had to remove the Uniswap page demo from our side. So now we remaking the Uniswap interface in order to let Google us be available on web. So, but then everything is ready, and we tested our solution just playing with Uniswap.
So is there a demo live already?
It's like now in terms of it's live, then we can access it, but then it should be live for users as well. So we still have to redo the interface, and then it will be live on our side. So
Got it.
Maybe one last question we can take here. We got a question to just clarify one part of our infrastructure, which is the operators. I don't know if we went into any detail on what is the role of an operator in the proxy. Do one of you guys want to clarify that for the chat before we call it here?
Yeah, definitely. So the main tool, so this proxy server, Web3 server, which we need in order to prepare transactions to be executed by Neon EVM. So like we have Ethereum transactions in Ethereum format, and we have to to wrap them into Solana transactions and then to do everything that is needed to do in order to execute them in parallel. That means we need to understand the accounts that will be participating in these transactions, etc. So, and these actions are done by this proxy. So it prepares transactions to be executed later by Neon EVM contract. So, and this proxy can be run by Neon EVM operator. So, and then in this case, Neon EVM operator will be rewarded, etc., etc. But then this functionality, proxy functionality, can be built as a client library by applications. So, and then in this case, so the applications will play a role of these Neon EVM operators.
Just to clarify, the proxy itself is trustless. That the only thing that it really does is it computes which Solana accounts that hold state relevant to this transaction need to be included in running this transaction while the EVM operates on this Ethereum signed payload. So that computation, once it does it, if it does it incorrectly, the whole thing fails and anybody can restart it. And it doesn't cost the user anything because the proxy is what's paying the actual SOL to do it. So the proxy has to do a good job or it's just burning SOL tokens for no reason.
Do we have time for a couple more? It looks like we got a couple more trickle in when I mentioned that. Maybe we give it another 5-10 minutes. Does that work for you guys? So there's one question here. So Mocha-Cola says basically if Solana wallets cannot use Neon apps and MetaMask has to use bridges, without the ability to engage with native Solana contracts, why use Neon instead of another layer 2? So I think there are a couple of things there.
Yeah, so it can engage with native Solana contracts through MetaMask. So that's one of the benefits is you could actually build a Serum API in Ethereum, right, in Solidity, deploy that program inside EVM, and now you have access to Serum from an application like, 1inch or something like that wants to route orders. So that's totally possible. Having a support for signing Ethereum transactions from something like Phantom, that's going to come eventually. It's just it's going to take some time, but there's a lot of benefit from users that are on Ethereum to have more options. Something that isn't Binance Smart Chain or Matic that has much lower censorship resistance than Solana itself. And probably I suspect that Solana is going to end up being cheaper for those users and have less congestion in the long run. And you also get the benefit of the liquidity in Solana. So even if you don't access Serum directly, a market maker can trade on a state inside the EVM chain and atomically change their position in Serum, which would effectively bridge that liquidity. So you get the benefit of that just by being in the same state machine.
Awesome. So maybe we can just wrap this up by letting people know where they can find us and follow along with our progress and everything like this for updates.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there was a question, is this going to bottleneck Solana? So the cool thing about Neon is that the transactions that Neon operates, they fit within the Solana transaction budget like anything else, right? So they're, I kind of think Radium transactions are the most expensive ones that we're executing because they lock 50 accounts. So in that sense, like I don't expect there to be any differences between Neon, like from the state machine. The state isn't going to care if it's executing EVM bytecode or some other smart contract. It's not going to know. Cool.
Awesome. So thank you everyone for your questions. If you have any other questions, obviously you can reach out to any of us on Twitter. We also have a lot more in-depth information if you want to check out our website at neonlabs.org. We have some technical documentation out there. We've got our white paper. If you want to look through our GitHub, that's available there. All of our links, including a Twitter, Discord, are up there. So please feel free to reach out to us and get in touch. We'd love to hear your feedback and any other clarifications we can provide you. But
better just deploy something using Neon EVM, and then
absolutely.
It's like the best way to check what we have here.
Definitely.
Okay. So thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you guys.